Hello and welcome to Flying 180 Motorsports. This is another segment in our interview series. And just to kind of recap on the interview series, which has been going great, feedback has been amazing. What the overall goal of this series is. Um, there, there's so many people and so many facets of the motorsports industry, from the grassroots racing to the professional series. We have people who are track workers, we have team owners, track owners, the drivers themselves, engineers, supply companies, transportation. It's a huge industry, and my goal is to bring all these little pieces, all these little cogs and wheels that make the industry chug along, that maybe go, all these stories behind the scenes that are unsaid, unheard of, give people the opportunity to get those stories out there, because it's things that we may not hear on a regular basis or not see on a regular basis. And I think that trickles down to grassroots racing also. You know, we hear in the media all the time about all the top tier people. We'll see them on TV, but every single driver that we've seen and the racers that we watch on a regular basis all went through a journey, and they all went through their grassroots experience before they became a pro. And tonight's guest is one of those people. We have someone who's in the middle of his journey, and I'm very excited to have him as a guest, and really look forward to what he has to share with the viewers. So, a very big welcome. We have Mr. Franklin Caricofe. Franklin, how are you?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you very much for taking some time to speak with me. I think you're a perfect candidate for the interview series because, you know, it's not about, you know, the finish. It's not about those people who are already at the finish line in their career, who have achieved the top. It's for me, it's about the journey. The journey is where the tidbits are, the little bits and the good nuggets of life experiences, and I think you have a lot to share with the audience. Before we really get into the driving aspect of your career, let's start off with just some basics. Number one, Franklin, how old are you?
I'm 16.
16, the ripe old age of 16.
Yes, sir.
And as we'll see, that's just a number based on what you've been doing, which is a good thing. And what part of the world are you located?
I'm in New Hope, Virginia.
Very good. And just very quickly, in a nutshell, tell us a little bit about just family, siblings, hobbies. Tell us what's going on in you. Just a little nutshell of the personal life.
Okay. I have three sisters. I have two brothers, one older one, one younger one. All my sisters are older than me. And we all really grew up together in the same house, and we would always come down to my grandparents' house and go swimming, and we lived together, grew up together, had a good relationship with each other, and we still do today. My family, they were always at racetracks, whether we were driving or sponsoring someone. We were always at the track every weekend when I was little, and then we took a good break, and I tried to get into a car real early, but they didn't think I was ready, so we held off for a little bit, and then in 2016 they finally let me get into a Bandolero.
And that was in 2016, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's back it up a little bit. And I know you mentioned you and your family used to go to a track. And throughout the world, especially in grassroots racing, there are a lot of local tracks that exist that have operated for many, many years, that have given a lot of drivers the opportunity to enter a sport, and they go unheard of. We don't hear about them. Tell us, what was the name of your local track where you had your first, well, where your family used to go to, and where maybe you got your first experience. Give us the name of those tracks.
Well, my family, they, like my great granddad, my granddad, my dad, and my aunt, they all raced on dirt. And I was the first one to kind of come into the asphalt world. And so we were kind of new to that, and we had a lot of help through that. But they would run at East Side Speedway, they would run at Natural Bridge.
And what state are those in?
They're in Virginia also.
Okay.
Uh, and they would just travel around, go up to Pennsylvania a little bit. And then once I started racing, we were in North Carolina a good bit. In 2017, we were in North Carolina for the Bojangles Summer Shootout, and I ran with the Outlaws. I think we finished 8th in points down there. And then nationally that year, we finished 12th out of 100 and some cars. And we had a track championship at Shenandoah Speedway. It's my favorite racetrack to go to.
Yeah.
I love that track. I love the people there. I love the officials. They're really cool guys. And just everybody there is so welcoming, and it's such a great track, and it's really fun to drive.
That's great. That's great. So you mentioned you have a few generations of racers there, right?
Yeah.
I think you said so. You're the fourth generation of racing in the family, correct?
Yes.
That's pretty impressive. And
Yeah.
everyone else, so was with the older generations in your family, they were doing sprint cars?
My great granddad actually had an old Ford that he used to race, and his first number was B15, and then he went to 33, and everybody after that went to 33. So
That's
that
great.
kind of fell into my lap.
That's great. Let's take this along the timeline, right? So you're at the track with your family growing up, and you mentioned that the people who preceded you and your family were on dirt. What happened, or what was the experience that led you to go the direction of racing on asphalt?
Well, me and my granddad had to talk about that, and I'm definitely going to try dirt in my career at some point. That's definitely on the bucket list. But we had to talk about it, and we just decided if we want to make this a career and make this dream come true, then asphalt is the place to do it, and to get your name out there and make it big. And the dream one day, hopefully, is get into NASCAR.
Yeah. Which leads me to the next point, as far as getting into some of your background, personal background, and so on, as we kind of dig a little bit deeper into your motorsports career. Tell us exactly the name of the series that you're racing in right now. I have on the title at the top of the screen here that you're a NASCAR Whelen All-American Series driver. Tell us where that series kind of lies in the hierarchy of NASCAR, and what is like the path, what comes next, and then next, and then next.
Okay. Well, we're in late models right now. If we travel around and go to bigger tracks with a lot more cars, we go to limited late models at those tracks. But tracks real close to us here in Virginia, we run in late models. And we go to limited late models when we go out of town, because we just don't have the equipment to run with those guys just yet. And I'm still learning. It's only my second year running the late model this year, and I'm still learning a lot. And I definitely want to thank all the people that have helped me get to where I am now. I made a few buddies in the Bandoleros, and those buddies have stayed with me through the late models and still helping us today.
Gotcha. So, how old were you when you raced your first competitive race?
I was probably 14 or 15
Okay.
when I had my first race, and then I raced probably 10 races my first year. We came in right at the end of the season, so we didn't race much. And then 2017 was our first full year, and it was a really good year for us. We started off with a win at Shenandoah Speedway
Wow.
and Southside Speedway,
Wow.
2 weeks apart. And that was the first 2 races of the season. And then we went on to win the championship at Shenandoah Speedway that year.
Wow.
We got third at Southside because I missed a couple races there, and then we got Rookie of the Year at Southside also.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's really cool. So we're in 2019 right now. Tell us the status of racing for this year and what the goal for the remainder of the year is.
Right now, our car is in Richmond being fixed still. It's at Ryan's shop. He's a great guy. He owns After Hours race cars, and those guys do amazing jobs. It's in there because June 1st, we went down to South Boston. We were running limited late models. We had about 25 laps completed, and we had a caution because the car spun. We went green. We made one lap back around to the start-finish line, and Jessica Dana got turned into the inside wall, and there was a car on my outside, and I was going past her, and I couldn't move up anymore, and she clipped me in the left rear. I mean, no intentions for that to happen or anything, but she just bounced off the wall, caught me in the left rear. I went sideways. Another car hit me. He just had nowhere to go. And then I backed into the wall. The safety crews down there and the owner of that track, they were amazing. They were right there on it, and they were there with us through the whole thing.
And just for the viewers, I mean, everybody kind of walked away okay from that?
Most everybody did. I did hear that Jessica was on crutches and maybe in a boot for a little bit of time, but I'm not sure exactly how long that was.
If that's the worst of it, then I think everybody got pretty lucky, right?
Yeah. Most definitely.
Thank goodness. So Franklin, let's go even deeper into this, right? You're 16?
Yes.
Okay. 16. And you have this family lineage. It's in the blood already that you're a racer, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel sort of like this little piece of built-in pressure in the fact that, okay, everybody in my family's done this, I have to perform at this level? Or is it because maybe that you're already on asphalt and it's a little bit different experience that maybe it's not the same pressure? Tell us a little bit about, and I'm sure the family, obviously, it seems just from the way you talk that this is a very close-knit family we're talking about, and that you probably have all the love and support that you need. But is it a little bit of pressure there?
For me, they have no idea, but for me, it is a ton of pressure because every time I go out on the track, I'm trying to be the fastest car out there, and I'm trying to make them look good.
Yeah.
But if it was on dirt, it'd be a lot more pressure because I'd be trying to live up to their standards and just trying to be a top 3 car every single week. But with the late model being on asphalt and my second year in the car, it's let that pressure go away a little bit, but it's definitely still there.
Yeah. And of the family members that you mentioned, is your grandfather still with us? He's still.
My grandfather is. My great grandfather is not.
Okay, so you have a treasure trove of experience to kind of tap into between your grandfather and your father. How much does that help you on race days and preparing for races?
Well, it helps some and it hurts some because they're trying to help me, trying to get me faster, and trying to figure out what I can do. So they're always throwing in their 2 cents. Just drive it in a little deeper and get on it a little sooner.
Right.
I'm like, well, I'm trying.
tell us a little bit about, and you touched on it, that you're feeling a lot of pressure, right? Is the pressure coming from trying to figure out how to better yourself, in the sense that you're trying to develop a more streamlined racing style, or is it just from the sheer results of each race?
Um, Pressure, it's really just inside myself. I'm putting the pressure on myself because I want to live up to their standards. I mean, they have walls full of trophies, and that's just where I'm trying to be at and
Yeah.
get to a national level with it. So it's basically just me putting all the pressure on myself, and they're just there to support me.
Right. I'm sure. I'm sure they've told you, and I'm sure you've heard this from many racers around you, that obviously you want to, and you see it every week in professional racing on TV, where if a racer's being interviewed and they're talking about the season, or a reporter asks them, "What do you think about the season? 2 months from now, whatever." A racer will respond, "Oh, I'm just trying to take it race by race. I'm just focusing on the next race." Tell me a little bit about what you do to just focus on the next race. What is the routine? What is the pattern? What is your mental preparation? What's your physical preparation to be prepared one race at a time?
I run a little bit during the mornings. I'll get up, I'll run about a half mile, and then just to keep myself in shape and make sure I'll be okay
Right.
during the either 50 laps, 75 laps, or 150 laps, whatever we may have that next week. I just try to drink a lot of water on race days,
Yeah.
on days leading up to the race. Drink a lot of like body armor drinks
Right.
and stuff, just with a lot of electrolytes and stuff like that in them. And it gets me amped up for the weekend, and then I'm ready to go on Saturday mornings.
Right. Now, obviously, you're going to have your pattern as far as how you attack a race weekend or how you prepare for a race weekend. But what have you found to be the most difficult piece of going through your routine? What's the one thing that you feel you could get better at? What's the one thing that, through the course of not only preparing, but even through the course of the race day itself, the one thing in your routine that either you're doing before the race or during the race that keeps coming back to you and haunting you, where you're saying, "Man, I just got to get better at that." What is it?
Uh, well, right before the races, when we're sitting on grid or we're sitting on the track and we're waiting to start our pace laps, I get real nervous, and I mean, I think that's with everybody really,
Yeah.
but just calming down a little bit before the race, and then also restarts, just being nose to tail with the guys in front of you, and being right there when they drop the green flag is really important, especially on short runs. You could lose 3 spots on a restart, or you could gain 3 spots on a restart, and you got to time it perfectly. And if there's a hole open, you got to take it.
Yeah. The post race sort of analysis is almost as important as how you prepare for a race, right? What you do after a race. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing after a race to kind of reflect and maybe extract the positives and negatives. What are you typically looking for after a race in order to improve for the next race? Are you looking at, like what you just mentioned, your restarts after a yellow, or are you give us some examples of what you're reflecting on after a race?
Well, after the race, I come in. Main thing is to get hydrated
Yeah.
and get that water back in me that I've sweated out, and then also just talk with the crew and um, my spotter and what he thinks I'm doing, and
Right.
what the whole crew thinks I could be just a little bit better at. And I always have a talk with all of them and see what they think, and then next time out on the track, I try to put that in front of everything else and try try to improve that. And I'll go out there and just spend 15 laps just practicing restarts coming out of the corner,
Yeah.
just to get a good line run down.
Yeah. How involved are you with the mechanics and the people who are responsible for the, tweaking the car? How involved are you with the setup of the car? I mean, obviously there's that communication between yourself, always between the driver and the crew,
Right.
but there's always throughout history, it seems that some drivers are always better at it than others. Where do you feel you lie? Are you highly communicative with your team, or are you a little bit more sort of general with your communication as far as it's a little too tight, it's pushing a little bit here, like, or are you very precise? I need a half turn on force, downforce here. Like, tell me about a little bit about your communication level.
I mean, I don't really go with I need like a half turn on the right rear,
Right.
or full turn on the left front. I don't really do that. I just tell them it's like scale of 1 to 10. It's like a 3 tight entering the corner, and then I'll walk them through the whole corner, coming out of the corner, down the straightaways, what the motor feels like, if it's pulling off the corner or not, and I try to go into as much detail as I can to help them get me better.
Right. And what is kind of the regular feedback you hear during the race in your ear? Who's communicating with you? Yeah, obviously you have your spotter, right? But what is sort of the normal conversation that's going on in your helmet? What is the normal feedback that you're hearing?
Uh, Normally, it's just the spotter talking to me the whole time. If I have someone talking to me a lot more and just getting me through every lap, then I do a lot better
Yeah.
because I have someone right there. And then on caution laps and stuff, when the spotter isn't really needed, I'll talk to the crew and my crew chief, and they'll ask me how the car's feeling or if I need to try to adjust my brake bias to put more brake to the front or the rear to help the car so I don't have to come to the pits. And we'll just go over that, and we'll try to get the car better from inside the car first.
Yeah.
And maybe that's backing up the corner half the car or driving it in a little deeper to try to get me better on the track without having to come in and make adjustments.
Right. Interesting. At 16 years old, I think the one obvious disadvantage you have is just age, right? Where you're gonna come up against people who just have a little bit more experience, depending on as you're improving, as you're pushing yourself forward. You you just have people who might have done that many more laps on any given track than you, just based on age. Are you doing something maybe to give yourself an edge when you're not in a race weekend? Do you have simulators? Are you using any type? Are you using NASCAR Heat? Are you using R Factor? Are you using any type of simulator to help yourself in preparing for a race? Because I know maybe some of the more local tracks may not be present on a simulator, right? But are you doing any sort of practicing on a simulator, or are you just getting in a car and going to a track and practicing? Like, tell us how you just whatever little edge you're giving yourself. Tell us what you're doing.
I don't have a simulator. I'd love to get one, but I don't have one right now.
Right.
Most of the time, we go to the track every single Friday on race weekends, and just to get the car dialed in and get me back in the swing of things after that week. And I have a feeling we'll probably be at the track quite a few weekends before we race, either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, because we have a new motor coming into the car, and also not being in the car since June 1st. So I'll definitely be in the car for a few weekends, trying to get set back in where I need to be and try to get the car dialed back into where we need it.
Right. At 16, again, you you described a very successful, I believe you said 2017 season, which is awesome to have a great season at that, even younger. You're 16 now, so you were 14.
Yes.
To have a season like that at 14 is incredible. Is Tell us a little bit about how the sponsors respond to you at your age. Is it easier, or do you find it a little bit more difficult than you anticipated as you're gradually getting older?
I feel like they're very, very helpful with me. They know I'm young and I'm still, learning and figuring out the car. So they're not trying to push me and say, well, you need to go faster. You need to be in the top five every week or whatever. They're really helpful and supportive, and we could finish first, and they'd be just as happy if we finished last.
Right.
Just as long as they're on the car and they're out there at the track sometimes and supporting us, and we have a great relationship with each other. It's Classic Motorsports. I have Caricofe Auto Repair and Towing, Shenandoah Auto Salvage, Lazy Acre Farms, and many others. They all help us a ton during the season, and we definitely could not do this without them and my crew. Really, just my family. They come out to the track, support us, help us in any way they can, and there's always a big group of people with green T-shirts on in the stands everywhere we go.
Well, tell me a little bit about what those green T-shirts are. I'm not going to let you slip that in and not explain it.
Green T-shirts. My favorite color is green, so the car is green, and we have green shirts made with Caricofe on them and everything in my race car, and all the ways you can contact us, and all the sponsors,
That's
and
great.
so everybody that comes to the race to watch and support us, they wear green. If they don't have a racing shirt, they just wear a green shirt.
Right. As you described, it sounds like a great relationship between you and the sponsors, and it's always nice to have that unconditional support from a sponsor. Uh, Tell us a little bit, and on a grassroots level, I've always been fascinated by how a driver will create that relationship with a local sponsor. Tell me a little bit more about that. How did you are you and how involved are you in attaining the sponsors for the car? Is it a family effort? Is it just you? And when you're looking for a sponsor, where are you looking for a sponsor?
It's definitely a family thing. It's my aunt. She helps out a ton. She does a lot of my PR work, almost all of it, and she helps me get um, like things to get to the sponsors ready, hero cards, whatever the thing may be. She helps with all of that. She helps with getting T-shirts made, hats, whatever we need, and she's a big part of my racing career.
That's great. And when she's helping you get sponsors, where are you looking at? You're not looking on a national level, I would assume. You're looking on a local level, right? You're looking at local businesses. Give
Yes.
us an example. And you listed some of them before, but give us an example of the type of businesses that are choosing to sponsor you.
We have one auto repair shop that my family owns. We have a salvage yard, and then we also have a farm and a body shop. They work on uh, old cars, new cars. It doesn't really matter. They're Classic Motorsports, and they do amazing things with cars. And if you want something done and you want it done right, it should definitely be taken to them.
That's great. And what was the name of them again?
Classic Motorsports.
Yes. Excellent. Um, Tell us a little bit about the goals. You're at a certain level right now. You have a certain level of support from your sponsors, right? You're in the current All American Series, Whelen All American Series, right? What is the 1 year goal? What's the 3 year goal? What's the 5 year goal?
1 year goal is keep learning the car, keep getting faster, and keep staying towards the front if we can. And we know we're not going to be the fastest car out there every weekend, and we know there's going to be nights that we finish last or we don't finish at all. And so the first probably 2 or 3 more years, we're going to be pushing ourselves to get better, but it's not going to be, well, we need to get top three this weekend. Now, 5 year, 6 year goal on beyond that, that's definitely going to be grinding it out and trying to be up front all the time and be a contender for championships and wins and everything like that.
That's great. And what series are we talking about? Are you like where is in 5 6 years definitely being at the front? In which league?
Well, late models, we'll probably stay in late models for a good
Okay.
while.
Yeah.
And then I think the next step up would probably be K&N or ARCA cars or something, if we can.
Right.
That'd definitely be a good ride for us. And then hopefully move up from there, go to the truck series and work our way through those ranks and try to
Wow.
get into NASCAR.
That'd be great. What is the Franklin? What's the ultimate goal? What's the dream? Like, let's get with two different goals, right? And obviously, it's like it's like that age old question. If you could have any car you want, what would it be? Well, there's two types. You have the dream car, the fantasy car, and then you have the realistic car, right? What's your goal? What's your dream goal? And then what do you feel is the real goal?
Uh, Dream goal is one day be compared to someone like Kyle Busch, who's dominating the Cup Series, or someone in the Cup Series. I mean, anyone that has ran it before, they're all very, very talented guys,
Right.
and that's not just a I'll pay you this much and you let me get a ride. That's a you got to be on your game and you got to be a good driver to get into that league,
Right.
and hopefully we'll be there one day.
Yeah. That's excellent. Um, you mentioned Kyle Busch, right? Is there one driver that you've always followed in their career and kind of watched on a regular basis as you're getting older? And you're very busy with your racing career, but is there one driver that you look at and you follow and you even maybe try to emulate? You watch what they do and you try to maybe extract and apply it to what you're doing?
Yeah, most definitely. It'd have to be Kyle Busch. That's my favorite driver. He uh, he knows what it takes to win a race, and he's not afraid to do what it takes to win a race. And that's really what I want to be known for. I'm not going to go out there and wreck you, but if I need to get past you, and I can, I will.
Yeah. So you feel he's the most aggressive in going for gaps.
Yeah, most definitely.
Um, which not to backtrack a little, but it's always interesting to hear. So growing up, who was your favorite? I mean, is I know you're 16 now, and you're a fan of Kyle Busch, but has it always been Kyle Busch, or has there been someone else? There been a few drivers growing up?
It wasn't always Kyle Busch. It became Kyle Busch the last few years when we got started into asphalt,
Okay.
and we would watch NASCAR races every Sunday.
Right.
And but before all that, like when I was real little, it was dirt drivers because we were always at a dirt track. We never really went to any asphalt tracks very much,
Right.
but we were always at a dirt track. So my biggest idol growing up when I was very little was probably Scott Bloomquist. He drives the Zero car, and he can definitely wheel a car on some dirt.
Yeah. So you're racing now. You have your goals, right? You're doing what you love, right? And you're racing. You're 16 years old. You're in school, right?
Yes.
Now, we start to get into some logistical issues, which is you're in school all week. and now you're racing on the weekend. You have to study, but you have the pressure of the racing, right? At 16, and then you have, friends. You have a social life you'd like to have. Tell us a little bit. How are you balancing this? Number one, like what are you doing to kind of balance it all and yet be successful at it all?
Uh,
Tell me a little bit.
Mainly, we just try to have a good time at the track and try to just have good weekends. And then during that whole week, I'm in school. Then I try to get all my work done early. I take a note in on Mondays and let all my teachers know that I'll be out uh, Friday, and so that way we can go ahead and go head to the track, and then we'll be at the track Friday. We'll practice, be there Saturday and race, and we'll come back Sunday. And my teachers are really, really supportive of that.
That's
They
great.
all they help me get my work done,
That's great.
and my principal is a huge part of my racing as well. He helps me through school. He
Right.
lets me leave early, and doing all that, I still make it to orthodontist appointments, my nephew's baby appointments and stuff, and then during the weekends that we don't have a race or on Saturday nights or Sundays, when we're not really doing anything, friends come over, we go swimming, or we'll ride four wheelers or play pool or whatever, and uh, they help me relax. If we had a bad weekend, they help me relax, calm down, and get ready for the next weekend and put that behind me. And they're so supportive, and I could not be more thankful for them.
That's amazing. And I think that's the key to a lot of things that you said up to this point in our discussion is that I keep hearing little injections of this key support from people around you, right? Family, friends, staff at your school. It sounds like you're incredibly well supported, and that's you're very lucky and very fortunate to have that level of support on all fronts. Helping push you forward. Um, that's great. When when school, what is kind of the goal? You're 16, so you're going to be a junior.
Yeah, I am a junior.
So you're a junior. You just started. Right now, we're in September of 2019. So you just started your junior year, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you have this year, next year. What is kind of the plan once you graduate high school? Have you thought that far out? Are you thinking, I don't, what am I going to do here? You going to go to a local university and try to maintain the same schedule? What is kind of that 3 year plan?
Uh, it'd probably be right out of high school, uh, uh, go to somewhere and start working, and still try to keep that racing going every weekend or every other weekend or whatever we can do. And then uh, once we get far enough away from high school, I'd really like to move down to North Carolina and try to get a job driving for a team down there, a late model team or whatever I can find to do, and just try to keep progressing my racing career and meeting more people and trying to do more things to get me closer to my dream goal.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with the next question, which is a lot of drivers like to attach themselves to other facets of the industry so they have that they can establish sort of those anchors in the industry and have a career in the industry beyond driving. Have you kind of thought about that? Have you thought about, like on a pro level, you'll see a driver who's retired from a pro level and maybe he'll become a commentator on a local news, or for a sports news network. Um, some other people maybe become involved in a racing team as a mechanic or something. Have you thought about that? Like, have you thought how else you might want to sustain yourself within the motorsport industry?
I have. I'd really like to stay in it and keep driving as long as I possibly can.
Right.
Then one day, if I do need to step back from racing and driving, I'd love to still be in a team, working on cars or making decisions on what we need to do to cars to get them faster,
Right.
or whatever I can do to help out.
Yeah. That's cool. So you're definitely a motorsports industry lifer, and I've had a lot of guests that are the same way. They know that they're going to be in this industry for life, right? I mean, it's a passion, it's a fire inside you. You just can't let go of it. You know this is it for you, right?
Right.
That's great. That's good. You're all in. You're committed, and you have all the tools necessary to achieve that dream, which is great. Um, Tell me a little bit about the tracks, right? So the tracks. You said Shenandoah, I believe, is your favorite track, correct?
Yes.
Is that an oval, a tri-oval? What kind of track is that?
It's an oval. It's a 3/8 mile oval.
3/8 mile. Okay. And are any of the tracks that you race on throughout the course of the year anything other than an oval?
Uh, no, not with the late model, but when we had the Bandolero from 2016 to the end of 2017, we ran on ovals and we also ran on road courses. I got a pretty good record on road courses. I haven't ran many of them, but I ran the 2 mile road course at Dominion Raceway, also where I run the oval track there.
Yeah.
They have a 2 mile road course. I ran that and finished second to my teammate the first night, and it was actually 2 days of racing. And the second night of racing, our teammate actually blew his motor up sitting on the pit road waiting to go out.
Oh,
And so we went out there, and I finished second again with someone else, and it was a good weekend for us. That was the first time I'd been above third place. I got my first third place at Southside Speedway, and that's when I broke the top three. Then I got second there, and then that was right at the beginning of 2017. And
yeah.
then there, when we started running oval tracks that year, we ran Southside and Shenandoah the first race of the season, other than that road course. And I got 2 wins there. And so it started off a real good year for us.
Yeah.
And that season just progressed more and more. And
Right.
we finished, like I said, 12th in national points. And we were in the top 10 most of the year. And then we also won the Virginia State Championship for Outlaws.
Cool. That's great. That's really really great. Um, I want to touch on what you mentioned with the road courses because, and I don't know how good of an example it is, but in a sport like tennis, the best players in the world know how to play on different surfaces. They'll play on, the grass courts at Wimbledon, the clay courts at the French Open, and the hard courts at the Australian and U.S. Open. Right? A racer has to kind of be the same. You have to know how to do an oval, a road course, and maybe even a tri-oval, right?
Right.
So, how hard was it for you? How difficult was it for you to kind of? Obviously, it doesn't sound like it was very difficult because you got second. But how hard was it for you to get onto that road course? Did it come naturally? Who helped you? And are you prepared for tri-ovals when they make their appearance in your career?
I'm definitely ready to try new tracks. It'd be a really fun experience. But we run oval tracks every single weekend. We also ran Charlotte Motor Speedway's road course. We didn't run the whole thing. We ran kind of inside the speedway, and I finished fourth 4 times, and I got
Wow,
second place at the end of that one.
that's great.
But I would definitely love to run on a tri-oval and more road courses. And um, as our season keeps going and my career keeps going, I uh, like to try to get better at running tracks with a lot of grip, and then also going straight to tracks with no grip, and just having that mentality as a driver to say, well, I can go from running with brand new tires and I can run just as fast with old tires at the same track or at different tracks. And that's mainly what I'm trying to focus on, is just run good, consistent laps, no matter how old the surface is or how new it is or how old the tires are or how many laps they have on them. I try to run as consistently and as fast as I can given those surfaces.
Right. Listen, based on your success on road courses, dare I ask, which do you like better, road courses or ovals?
It's got to be ovals. I love ovals. Road courses, they're fun, and the guys that drive on those every week, they are very talented guys that drive on those, and women. And I'd love to drive a couple more road courses, but oval track's just where it at. There's such a better closing rate, and cautions come out for the entire field, and it kind of helps if you're back there a little further. You can catch up, and you have another chance. It's not like if you restart, then you'll be right up there at the front, and you'll be all bunched together again. But with like road courses, they have just yellows for certain corners or certain parts of that track, so it's kind of hard to catch back up
Yeah,
if you make a mistake.
it's true. Very good. Um, what has, well, scratch that. Who has been your biggest supporter behind the scenes, week in, week out with your racing, just from over the past few years?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to choose, but uh, mainly it's been just people that have been there since we started running Bandoleros and that have went with us to late models. Like um, one of my buddies that also drives late models now. We were running bandos together, and then we moved to late models together. And his dad had been running late models, and they help us out a lot. And the guy that helps them also works on our car, helps us set it up some. And me and my granddad go to the tracks every weekend, and he's always driving us there. And then my cousin will come and just to help out whatever he can, and he'll go and spot for me if he needs to. I have other friends that'll go and spot for me if I need them,
Yeah,
and they'll come lend a hand on practice days, race days, whatever they can do.
yeah. Um, you know, I really, it really makes me happy to hear, and I'll say it again, to hear how much support you have around you. Like I said, from friends, family, school, so on, sponsors, right? But not a lot of people have that level of support that you do. You're very lucky. You're
Right.
very fortunate.
Yes.
For someone who's 13, 14, another Franklin Caricofe, right? That's coming up, who doesn't have that support. What advice can you give to them to help them stay focused to pursue their dream?
It mainly just not really listen to what everyone else says of your driving. I mean, definitely take in the helpful tips that people can give you, but if people are, saying that you shouldn't be running or you're not good or whatever, just don't listen to them. Tune them out. Don't worry about them, because in the end, it's you at the track and it's your car, and you can finish last every weekend and have just as much fun as the guy that's finishing first every weekend.
Right. Uh, Franklin, as we wind down here, I definitely want to bring up on the screen um, your website. And I'm going to do that right now. And I don't know on your end. You probably won't be able to see this, but okay, I have your website up on the screen right now, and it says Franklin Caricofe Racing, number 33, where racing is a family tradition. Tell us a little bit if this broadcast, this interview, has maybe turned some sponsors onto you. Somebody says, "I like this guy. I wanna connect with him. I want to work with him." How does someone go about? What's the best way of someone contacting Franklin Caricofe?
The best way would be Facebook Messenger or Twitter or Instagram. It's all under Franklin Caricofe Racing 33. And that's really the best way you can contact us, and you'll get in touch with my PR and talk to them, and they'll kind of give you the guidelines and tell you what we're trying to do and what we've done already, and how you could help us out with this racing career.
That's great. And there's an email listed here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that FCR33 at Yahoo?
Yes.
Yeah. Yahoo.com. And yes, there are little connections for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram in there also, which is great. Okay, good. Franklin, I want to give you the opportunity in these closing couple minutes here, because unfortunately our time is coming to an end. I know you're busy, you gotta run, and I definitely appreciate every minute you've given us here. But for all those people around you that support you and so on, give a shout out. Who do you want to say hi to? Go ahead, you have the floor.
Hey Mom. Definitely want to give a shout out to her. She's at the track every chance she can get. My dad, my sisters, my brothers, they're always there, either in the stands or in the pits helping us. My granddad, like I said, he drives me everywhere, every track we go to. And also Cole Bruce. I've drove his backup car a few times, and maybe look to do it again in the future if our car isn't ready yet. And we've gotten real close with him and his father, and Dakota, who works on Cole's car. He helps us out a lot working on ours, and he's always at the track with us, or he's either at the track with us or he's on the phone with us, and telling us what we can do and trying to help us to get better.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Franklin, I can't thank you enough for your time. You've been absolutely awesome. I think, you give a really good, everyone, I think, will get a very good feel of what it's like for you to be going through your racing journey in your little pocket of the world. Because what's going on by you is different for a grassroots racer in France,
Right.
or Germany. It's going to be different, and you gave a really good descriptive, feel to what you're going through, and it sounds like you got some good stuff going on. You got to get the car back in order, get back on the track, and but you have some great support. You have a great foundation. You have all the pieces in place to go very, very far in the sport, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're very, very, very welcome, and I really appreciate your time again. Hopefully we, connect again in the future. Give us an update on what's going on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. To all the viewers out there, thank you very much for joining another segment of the Flying 118 Motorsports interview series. This video, along with all other interviews, will be in the archives on the Flying 118 Motorsports YouTube channel. Thank you very much again for joining us. I hope everyone has a great evening. Take care. Good night.